Welcome to Simple Conversation with ASG.
Disclaimer: this week's episode contains stories that some of you may find disturbing.
Tell me, who is Larry Ray Hardin?
Larry Ray Hardin. Wow, we're going to step back in time here a little bit. Like most of us, I hope, I came from a background, I'm much older, but came from a background where you respect people, you respect the older people, and you try to take care of them. Back then, when I talk back then, I grew up in Kentucky. People say, wow, Kentucky, is that something like watch a pioneer movie, or log cabins and all that? But no, it's I grew up in Kentucky, and it was close to the creeks. When I say creeks, I'm talking about water. We didn't have social, what they call welfare, any kind of programs like that. My daddy worked 2 jobs, worked as a laborer, and then he worked at nighttime on a farm, and when we all did. So we grew up on the creek. We had an outhouse. That's a toilet that you have outside. It's always next to a creek or somewhere in the woods, because the creek, the summertime, you use the water to clean yourself if you want to. And then we had an outside well, but we lived off our gardens, and we killed our pigs, even our pet pigs. I mean, we killed them for food and chicken. So that's the kind of life I grew up for several years. And I talked about it in that book, especially, the books that I've written and so on. But that's Larry Hardin. Larry Hardin, I left. I started searching for especially what was happening in the world. I was confused as a young person, but no one ever told me that I was anything different except who I am. And we always had prayer. We always had church. It's like a foundation. It keeps everything in perspective when you're growing up, and it's mostly just respecting each other and taking care of each other. And when you do have someone that's a bully, growing up as a group, and that was beating the hell out of them. It doesn't like you don't go out and do anything dangerous on it, but you just let them know, hey, you got to stop doing that, mistreating people. But the crime that we have today, it's if there's no punishment, then everything will start collapsing around you. And that I'm talking about Christian values. The other groups out there, they believe in punishing you severely. They don't need a police officer or law enforcement. They just take the law in their own hands. And I'm hoping that could stop, because I tell you what, after I spent almost 24 years working DEA is, if you don't know what it is, it stands for Drug Enforcement Administration. We come under the Department of Justice, and we work narcotics throughout the world, trafficking narcotics, especially coming out of South America and Mexico. And a lot of it now it's going right into Europe and make its way up into your hometown and other parts of Europe, because the dollar has become very weak in America, and there's a reason before that, what's happened there. But no, it's a changing world, and we continue. As a DA, I am retired, but I still talk to a lot of my friends, and whether it's DEA or FBI or other agencies. And we're definitely heading down a path that someday we can snap out of, especially your country. What's happened over there? Yeah, but that's who I am.
The main reason that I reached out to you to get you on was I had Mike Knox on a few weeks ago, who's now an actor who used to work in law enforcement and mainly as a parole officer. And I've never, in the UK, whenever I was growing up, crime was around, but you would only ever grow up directly around it if you were some way involved in it, or your family was involved in it. So hearing someone who worked in law enforcement talk about the way that they kind of seen things day in, day out in the system and stuff, it was so eye-opening to me, and it was especially because he mentions the second he got a chance to move into acting full time, he jumped at it and didn't think twice about retiring because he wanted away from that life. And then he speaks about being kind of like restricted now by the people he did work for whenever it comes to writing books, writing articles, and
Right.
even acting in certain genres of TV shows and movies. And it was something then that just it sparked in all these questions in my head that couldn't really ask him, but then I went looking for someone else that was involved in law enforcement. And whenever I saw your name come up and you were a DEA agent, I thought there's probably no one that holds more knowledge in those kind of situations than somebody who was involved with the DEA.
Follow your new favorite podcast host with a link in the description.
Yeah. Well, you're going to have to, talking to you now, and I hope your audience will understand this, that I do not write anything fictional. When I write, I learned how to write so I can put you or put that person in jail. It's called facts. I didn't deal with hearsay. And so that first book, Path of the Devil, it's in Spanish now. In Spain, I had a lot of help. Camino del Diablo. And I like that name a lot. It's if you understand it, it's a strong, it's a lot more stronger meaning behind it than it's just saying Path of the Devil. And of course, we have the title. They changed the title on it so we can promote the book. But I feel like the book is going to do very well. It is the truth. All those books, except one, Home is Never the Same. Those three books, I had to go through my agency, DEA headquarters, back in Washington, D.C. They had to make sure there was nothing sensitive that was in the book. Actually, it's all the agencies, because I talk about all the agencies, how they, relate it, more or less, what each agency is supposed to be doing. And but I can tell you, working with DEA, which is Drug Enforcement Administration, just kind of, with the movie called Breaking Bad. When I was in Greece and traveling, that's all they're talking about is Breaking Bad. Well, Breaking Bad is a really good series. It's a good movie, but you got to realize that it's TV. In the real world, when you start seeing things happen to other people, whether it's bad guys or especially the good guys and children, just the children and women. Those are the two groups that has been really exposed to this crazy narcotic traffic, and so I tell people, I said, look, it's more than what you think. Narcotics it affects all of our lives. I don't care what war is going on in the world, but people crave. They crave for something, whether it's alcohol or narcotics or whatever, and so I wrote those books, and I had a tough time with my agents because they want me to remove certain things. And I did, because if I didn't, they would come after me. They would file a complaint against me. I don't know if it'd be a criminal complaint, but I would have been sued. And it's the truth. The names in that book are real. As you know, public figures, people that's out there in the public, they're exposed. Okay. So they just can't come back and sue you or come after you. But to get permission from other people, I had to go through a legal process to get their approval to put their names. And so the book is, there was three people. Well, one is, I call her my agent, Diana DeMille. She'll kill me all the time. Every time I say Diana DeMille, she gets but her name is Diane DeMille. She's originally from Canada. She's the only one who took that project to write. Everybody else would not do it because they were scared. They were afraid because it's a true story. They're all true stories. And but she took it, and now she's in. She's with me for 100% all the way. And then we had two PIs, private investigators, that really pushed me very, very hard and told me, so Larry, you got to tell the truth. They're not going to listen to us. But from a DEA agent working all those years, I spent 6 years down in Mexico working back and forth, and 3 years in Colombia and Venezuela on the borders of Venezuela and Ecuador and Peru, and so I decided to do that. And one of the PIs died He died when the COVID in the United States got started. And it's strange how he died, because his brother had it. His brother treated it as a as a flu. He was scared of it, but he stayed home and took care of himself. But then Jeff Pierce, which helped write the book, he decided to go to the Veterans Hospital because he got it from his brother, and they didn't know how to treat it, or something was not right, but they put him on an incubator, and 30-something days, I believe, or 40, he dying. His lungs, destroyed his lungs. And so Randy, he's still living. He's with us. He's traveling now, and Diana's still here. So the book, it really centers around me targeting a group of brothers out of Mexico, and they were untouchable. But I was going to take them down because I believe in that with my hope and prayer. But I learned throughout the book. Well, I learned. It's all there. It's a lot more there than you can imagine. But I was dealing with corruption, and so the books, the 3 books, not the one from home, is never the same. That's about my family growing up in Kentucky. But all those books they deal with corruption, and I'm talking about not your home, not Great Britain, because we all deal with corruption, but I'm talking about corruption in my home. The country that I love, the country that you love. I'm seeing that. I was seeing that happen. And I dealt with the Department of Justice, the assistant U.S. attorneys, with a lot of help from a lot of people. And it was just like one roadblock after another. And it was a lot of corrupted law enforcement that I was dealing with. And so I could never prosecute the case. But so I wrote about it. It's the people need to know. So I wrote the book, and same with the other books. So I know you love your country. I know you love it very much, and I know you guys over there are very sad. But I think people are waking up. I know our country is finally waking up. The average, how you say it in Britain, the average Joe or the average whatever, we finally realize this immigration. What the politics are doing behind it, there's a reason. They're hurting our countries. I worked the border. I worked the border for a long time, and I worked down in Mexico, and I've been to Spain many times, and I'm watching people seriously in the small towns getting run over by people from across the Gibraltar Strait down there. And they're making their way up to France, and France will push them all over to your country, and your country is paying the price. Oh, is it paying a price like my country? But we have to pray. We have to pray that it will stop someday.
You mentioned something that Mike mentioned quite a lot, that this is kind of a callback to his episode, but he mentioned when he was writing his book about his time in law enforcement, he mentions that he had to change it to fiction because of people that were telling him not to say certain things. And you've obviously mentioned that you kind of refused to do that. And something that struck me whenever he was telling me about that situation is, I don't know maybe if it's the whole trending topic of corruption in law enforcement or anything like that, but is it just a case of the law enforcement or the justice system is trying to avoid being judged, is why they're stopping people like you and Mike telling real stories?
Well, I know who you're talking about, and I'm going to tell you something. If that's who I'm thinking he is a great man. We had him to endorse the book, the first book. You got when I wrote the first book, I didn't want to hurt my peers. I didn't want to hurt anybody in law enforcement because I was targeting very few of corruption. But the very few can really hurt. Just like one terrorist, one person can destroy many, many lives. Okay, a large group, it's going to be a disaster. But Mike, he liked the book. He liked it a lot. And Mike was telling me that there was an opportunity there that maybe someday somebody will take this book, a producer or someone, and and they'll do something, make a movie out. But it is true now. Mike and a lot of other agents out there, they kind of shy away from the truth because they don't want no problems. Okay. But why should I write a book? You know, me personally, why should I write a book when I have a comfortable life? I was teaching criminal justice. I was traveling, but I felt like the American people, the average taxpayer, the average in your country, Spain, whatever, they should know the truth, because the truth has always been, okay? No matter what politician, you know, there's so much corruption now. There's so much money. I knew senators. I know a senator. I sit down with him at a table, and it was such a political game, and I'm watching that. And but Mike, if that's the same Mike, I did talk to him, and I'm very careful about who. Hopefully someday someone will take one of the books and make a movie out of it. It will be true. It will be true, and because that's the only way the American public, because they want the truth. People, that's why you're doing this with me. You're searching for the truth. How can we stop this? How can we slow this thing down? You know, we go out and we try to vote, you know, but now they're using the voting machines, they're using the ballot ballot, they're using whatever they can, okay? Because there's so much money can buy. You know, there was something that happened 2,000 years ago, and he followed this guy around, and he watched all these things that he was doing. But yet, I mean, he's seen things that you and I probably never see in our lifetime, or anyone else. But I hope so, but I don't think so. But I do believe. But he sold him out for silver coins. He sold him out because of greed, ambition. He wanted that man to do more than have something for us, a better life. He wanted that man destroy the government that was so corrupted. And you know what? It was the religious people. I mean, the other country that invade their country, that was their normal thing to do, is go in and destroy people and hurt, really, seriously. And women and children were used for other means for whatever. And but it was one man. And you and I are not that man. There's no one out there. And always remember, I mean, who can sit and talk about what he's seen, you know, the things that he was doing? You know, in the universities where I was teaching, they said there's two things you just cannot talk about: politics, because you always have that one student. Can you believe that one voice is louder than 20 voices? That's backwards. Okay, the freedom of people is when you take a group of collective people, right? Okay, whether it's 5 people or so on, that 5 people should have the right to believe to what they have. But you let one person, whether he's a politician or prime minister or a president of the United States, you know, being controlled by certain groups of people, you know. So anyway, that one person, he sold that person out for silver coins. And but he realized deep down what he witnessed in his 3 years. And the man went out and hung himself. And no one would not touch his body until his stomach busted. You know, when you rot, when your body dies, you know, everything's going to start spilling out because the gas is the fluid. And that's what happened. So I do teach, and I always mention the first murder investigation. It took place with a brother. A brother picked today. A brother takes a knife or he takes a gun and he kills a brother. Let's say a brother by blood or a brother by we share this world together. Okay? He picked up a rock because envy and jealousy, and so sad. And he killed his brother, and blood spilled the ground. So you're talking to a guy here, Larry Ray Hardin. I thank God that I had that foundation, because throughout my career, you know, I had so many temptations, so many with money, always about money and sex too. Beautiful, beautiful women, okay? Travel the world. And those two things will destroy your spirit, your soul, is when you cross that line. And so thank God. I say that, I hope I don't offend you or your audience, but you have to believe. You have to have faith in something. And if not, you're not going to make it in this crazy world. And you're talking to a professional here. you are. So whether, you want to cut this program, you want to end this is who I am, and this is where I do get invited to places, and I don't sugarcoat it. I sure don't. You're talking to me, you're going to get the truth.
It's the way I want it. I don't want any kind of holdback, which is the reason why I reached out to you. But while you were telling that perspective of things, something was kind of coming to my mind, and as you kept speaking about kind of seeing corruption and seeing the temptations and seeing things like the murders investigations and things like that, along your time working in the DEA, were you ever kind of in fear of your life or of your own sanity being around the things you were around?
I can share you. I tell you what. One was, and I always remember that I was caught off guard. Our agency really spent a lot of time with us. Okay, training, how to deal with situations and so on. But a lot of it's common sense. It's street smart. It's the grace of your belief. But I was down in Mexico. I went down with an agent we got a call from a comandante. Comandante is a federale. Comandante is a commander. He's in charge of a specialized group that works narcotics down in Colombia. We knew the guy was corrupted. We do our homework. We know before we go after you or anyone else that we know you better than your mom knows you. We know your habits. And we knew this comandante, this federal commander. And but he called the office and he wanted us to go down, or wanted the agent go down, a Hispanic agent, American DEA, because there was a Cessna plane that was crashed in the desert. And so the only time I ever when you say fear, it's hard to describe, because even though we were out, to speed this up, we were out in the desert. We did meet with him and his 12 guys. We traveled by, you ever seen the movie called Clear and Present Danger? Well, yeah. This was not a movie. The movie it was great, but this is not a movie. Everything was going so fast. I watched, let me back up. We went down to their office down in Mexico, and I watched their interrogation. I didn't see them talk to the woman, but they moved the lady. They had a male and a female there because the male was stopped for doing something. Something happened. And so they decided to bring the male and the female, the couple, back to their station, the police station in Mexico. Well, I'm happened to be there with this other DEA agent. Now, of course, we work a lot outside the country, and what we see, we don't want to get involved in it, because now it becomes a national incident, especially when there's people that's been, slapped around and so on. And I noticed that this guy they picked up, they were slapping him. But he never cried. That's amazing. In the United States of America, when someone gets slapped, they cry. They really do. They scream and cry. If you touch them, they scream and cry. But I've seen some real tough people, poor people. And I'm not saying they're used to that kind of life, but the federales was hitting him, more or less, and he never cried. But the female that the victim was with, they took her somewhere else. And I don't know if I can talk about it, but maybe I will. It's in the book, because I learned so much about what women go through. I never knew. It's in our history books, how women were used for, if you want to say slaves or pleasures or whatever, and small children. We're going way back in our history. But I thought that was pretty well over with. But down in Mexico, we left. We went out in suburban vans, trucks, tinted windows, and we get out into the desert, hour and a half. We're out in the desert. It's 118 degrees. And there's the plane. It's crashed. It was a stolen. They like to take planes from America. And they take them and they steal them, take them to South America, and they load them up and they ship them back up to the United States with a stolen plane. But you got to understand that the stolen planes, we looked into it, it's almost more profit for the plane gets stolen. If it's an old plane, it doesn't, whatever. They don't care in the United States. It's not, the United States is not going to fight for the stolen plane to come back. They say the insurance, they just settled out. That's another incredible, from the intel I was getting from people down south about how stolen planes were. But the United States knew exactly what was going on. And but anyway, he had us out in the desert, and I'm the only white guy. I'm talking about white. You take my shirt off, you're going to see brown arms, and everything is white. white as coconut milk juice, if you want to say that. And everybody else, they're dark. They're Hispanic people, and they're dark, and olive skin, like Spain, in the south of Spain. But the federale, of course, all the coke was stolen off the plane. It's not there because the Comandante stole the plane. He stole the dope, took the cocaine, but he just wanted to come down because his goal was to identify me. And boy, he did a good job because, we're only 2 D agents by ourselves, and we're out there in the desert. And he says he got in front of my face, and I didn't speak Spanish fluently or understand Spanish fluently because the Mexican slang is really, it's their own dialect. And he tells the agent, he said, you tell this guy here, me, Larry Ray, to take his shirt off because I want to take a picture of him. Well, when he translated that to me, the first thing I learned is I quickly smile. I learned that growing up. When a bully's getting ready to beat you up, you smile at him. Like, I know you're going to beat the heck out of me, but I'm going to fight you back. And same when someone's getting ready to shoot you or getting ready to hurt you, you smile. You got a lot of nervous, you got a lot of stress, and a lot of times you just smile. Okay, just smile because it just comes out of you. I really believe the old devil smiles when he tempts you. I really do.
I agree. Completely agree.
And you need to smile back at that son of a gun and let him know, yeah, you're something else, but I got somebody else on my side. But anyway, I told him, he got running from my face. He has never forget it. He has a little mustache under his lip, and his eyes were dark, black dark. He's corrupted. And so I told him, I told my partner, DA agent, I said, you tell the Comandante that if he really wants a picture of me, he's going to have everybody out here in this desert to take their shirts off. We'll just take a picture together. The Comandante, after he translated that in Spanish, the Comandante looked at me, got right in front of my face. We're talking just inches away. And he's smiling, and I smiled back. And he said, okay. And that son of a gun, he had all 12 of his guys out there take their shirts off. And some of them were like 300 pounds. So, the upper chest is, it's huge. And then the agent I was with, he didn't have a choice. He took his shirt off. Now, we have 12 federales, 2 DEA agents, kumbaya, out in the middle of nowhere with it next to a burning plane. The cocaine is gone. And the Comandante, he's taking a picture of me. Then after he finished, now I did get nervous. I really felt, because of Keith Camarena, the agents that worked that case, and how they torture you, I really thought. Now we carry our weapons with us. We always carry our weapons, and I really thought it's over with. Okay, I really did. So I had no choice except smile back. And when it was finished, he said, "Vamos, let's go. Go to the cantina." It was only one little restaurant out of the middle of nowhere, and they had tiger shrimp. He took us over there. He gave us shrimp and gave us some Corona beer. I ate one shrimp. I drank one beer because I'm still a long ways from back home. But anyway, it's a story. And of course, the next one is, I always told my wife, and I tell you this up front, I make it really short here. I told my wife when I first joined DEA and working undercover, we all worked undercover. One thing about DEA, everybody works undercover. You don't know anybody working narcotics, especially DEA or the Narcotic Task Force. We all dress like homeless people. We really do.
Yeah, you have to blend them.
Oh, yeah. Or, I dressed the part as a banker, more or less moving money in my briefcase or whatever. But I told my wife what I fear the most. And if someday, if one of your members read the book, they're going to see the death of my friends. Is that I said, if I ever get shot, it's not going to be a bad guy that's going to kill me. It's going to be one of my own. It's going to be a brother or a sister in law enforcement. I'm talking about America, United States. And I talked about in the book where a friend of mine, Lieutenant, he was killed in one night by a corrupted narcotic agent. And but the way he killed him, it was horrible. It's not like going hunting for an animal, you kill them, but you shoot them, and then you eat them. When a human being kills another human being, they do more than shoot them. Okay, I know that for a fact. Down in Mexico, actually in the United States of America, they torture you first. They'll keep you alive while they cut your arm off. They'll keep you alive. And I have things that was given to me by other agents, and I show that in the classroom. And people that's never been in the military or law enforcement, they cannot comprehend a torso when I show them a torso on the screen, especially a lot of torsos. And they just can't comprehend it. To them, it's just a piece of meat, a pig or whatever's hanging up on a hook. But I talked about when they were alive, and especially, I tell you what, there are some movies out there. Sicarios is one of them, or towards the end. But I've seen a lot of that, especially down south in Colombia. The way of life, it's beautiful. They're very poor people. The people that are suffering, very humble, very nice people. It's always the people that gets the money, that comes into money, and something get twisted. And politics, most of our politics is that way now.
Something we're seeing a lot more of now on social media specifically is people that get into positions of influence and some form of power. They seem to be now gravitating away from it, and they're after maybe 5-10 years in that role and as they say, they find their faith, they find God. And you mentioned about corruption and wrongdoings in the system, and it's something that almost from an outsider looking in, I never grew up around any people really in power. I grew up in a very normal place, so I don't really understand it too much. But the whole saying used to always be, with power comes evil. And the more you have mentioned kind of corruption and seeing things on the inside that the outside looking in, they wouldn't really realise, it's making me think, even back then, but probably as well in today's age, is it those people in power, are they kind of in the mindset of they'll do whatever it takes to stay in power or to get more power?
That's right. That is correct. That's what it's no.
Submit your questions to simpleconversation.asg@gmail.com.
When you asked about that question, I told my wife I fear that I was going to get shot by a corrupted agent or a cop or someone's carrying the badge, whether I'm in Greece or Spain. It's not the bad guy. The bad guy we can deal with. If I got hurt today, well, it used to be if one of us got hurt, we will go to the end of hell to get that person, for what and that's what we've done in the past. But today, it's almost like the people in the Department of, Justice or Homeland. It's just we got the wrong kind of leadership right now, and it seemed like they're all on the same page of just really changing, not only my life, but look what's happened to your way of life, and so on. And I don't say this in a very negative way. There's a difference between a sheep, and someone that would get out there. And when Britain was trying to stop what was happening in the United States, actually it was owned by Britain at that time, but it was a very few people finally said enough. It wasn't George Washington. He was a British officer. It wasn't the Boston Tea Party. You know what it was? It was guys like the average person in your country that took out their rifle, a squirrel rifle or their hunting rifle, and they're wearing their simple clothes, and they said enough is enough, and they stood up to the most powerful army at that time, and it was a huge force, but they stood on the other side of that little bridge, and they stood up against them, and yeah, they got killed. You bet they did. And one of them was a slave, American slave. He got killed. But they stood up, and that's what the revolution, that's what happened. It sparked. When someone no longer become a sheep, we use that in law enforcement, someone that finally stands up, and say, I love my country. I love my family. I love my God. And this is wrong. Then you're going to see, we are going to see, it's just incredible. It'd be tough, but it will happen. And I just get that from your voice there. I think a lot of people are looking for that kind of leader, or that kind of group of people say, look, enough is enough, But they know, just like in Spain. I don't know if you know what's happening down in Spain, but I go there and the people are just beautiful. And they want Spain. They want their country back. But that's why the Brits pull away from the Euro, because it's been controlled by very few people. And I felt like that was the smartest thing that ever happened in your government. A lot of people disagree. But you said social media. Social media. I'm telling you, I stay away from them. You're not just all wars, whatever the conflict is, someone's going to control social media. Oh, is that you calling? No. Anyway.
No.
Okay. I thought maybe but anyway, I don't want to get cut off again. I appreciate you having me on. Like I say, if I ever get over there, I want you to send me your, just whatever you want to do. You got my information. I will be back in Spain in September. I've been invited to go up to Madrid. He's a reporter. He does a lot of things about true stories, and he's now we got to watch. I mean, we have a director involved also. I spent 2 days with him. He's a great human being. I know, I'm telling you, he's a director. He's so honest, and he loves our country, but he spent some time with me, and so we have a screenplay. I mean, it's out there, but you got to have the investors, because there's a lot of money involved. Eventually, we will find it down the road. But in Spain, the guy wants me to come up because they just love the books, Camino Diablo, and it's in Spanish, and the other books. And if it goes well, he works with some producers. And, I'm not looking for anything. I just want the truth get out there, especially about the women, what they have gone through, what they've been through, and children.
Yeah, I've heard.
They have no idea what they're doing. I tell you what, I couldn't say anything, but we can see out there on the streets. All they're doing is making that person, that old son of a gun, that old man or whatever, to make him feel good. They're going to get some money. So to us, we know it's sad what a child is doing, but the child needs money for the family and to live, and they're willing to do anything they can. And if they can see they can make that man feel good, they're going to do it. It's sad. Children are definitely innocent people. I don't care what country, where they're from, but a lot of cowards and bad people will use children to smuggle their narcotics or their crime. And same with women. They use women, especially old women, to hide into their private parts. And because the old lady, she needs money. She needs, or they got her family as hostages or whatever. And yeah.
Is that the kind of format for the whole like thing, investigations in the DA? The kind of, it seems to be that money is the root of all evil.
It always have been from the beginning of time. It's always about that. It's about, food was something that people control, and they bargain with food. And as we developed our currency and so on, money, just like our politics, they came out with a report here in the United States that our politicians, I don't care what they are, they're averaging over $10 million now. They don't make that kind of money. When they go into politics in the United States, they start off probably $150,000, $200,000. Okay. But before they leave, they're worth millions. Now, what they're doing, it's a crime for us. Okay. It's crime for you, no matter what country. but they're getting by with it. But they're getting paid off by that very special, that group of people. Oh, they're out there. And you know that too. Look what's happened to your country. That is not the average a person that wants to live that kind of life. That's not a kind of person that wants to see their country right in front of their eyes, where there's no law and order. Yeah, you might not have no weapons out there. Well, bad guys have weapons. But you know what? They're going back to the medieval times. You know how good they were with knives and swords? They were very good. I tell you what, I'd rather be shot, okay, instead of be cut by a knife. They know down in Mexico and parts of the world, they can take that knife and make a nice little cut across your stomach. You'll never know. You'll never feel it. That's how sharp and quick they are, until you look down and see your gut, your stomach coming out. You're alive. Yes, you are, but you're dead. You're a walking dead man. You're alive, but you're dying. And they always tell us, if you know that you're going to be leaving this world in a matter of minutes, whatever, you do everything you can to take that person that just did that to you. Okay? Do whatever you can. Do not let him walk away from you after he kills you, because he's going to do it again and again and again. Read the history of our wars, okay? Before there was any kind of handguns or it was all knives and swords. People knew how to use them. They knew how to cut and watch you suffer. You know, Kiki Camarena, a DEA agent that was tortured, kidnapped and tortured by law enforcement down in Mexico. I never met him, but I knew his sister, okay? Pablo Escobar in Colombia, never met him, okay? But I knew his sister and I knew his brother-in-law, okay? His son was still out there. He was in it, traveling back and forth in Europe. He felt safe over there than he did in Colombia. So it's what's happened in your country. That's a horrible way to die. Someone take a knife to you and stab you many times, okay? Or cut you, okay? Where you're not going to live very long, okay? It's just back here, what we're seeing. Also in New York, same thing. They're trying to take our weapons away from us over here, our guns. Well, that's in our Constitution. That's one of our articles. I mean, right now they are if they take your weapons away from you, like they do in Spain, in your country, in a lot of other countries, what are you going to do? You're going to do what the French Revolution did, when they realized the king and queen were eating some bread that was not molded. They were eating the best, and they were giving the leftovers to the very poor, to the French people. They came out and they died. That lot, because they had pitchforks. A pitchfork. I hope you guys know what a pitchfork is, or rocks, you know. And that's how they went and they fought. They fought with passion, because they know they stop. And same with your country. Once it starts, there's no ending to it. One side is going to walk away, okay? And same with my country, any other country. And that side, I really believe, as long as they have faith, okay? Faith in what they're doing, and prayer, and faith in each other, and love each other. I don't care. The stranger walks up to you right now. You can feel it. You can see it, okay? And if he's with you, he's going to be with you. As they say, he's going to have your back. In other words, you're six, your back. He's going to cover your back. All right. But a coward that goes out and stab people in the back, or sucker punch them, or walking down the streets of the bridge in London and comes up and starts stabbing them, those are cowards. Okay. They're not going to confront you. That if you have a knife in your hand, and if he walks up to you with a knife in his hand and try to hurt you, you're going to be more crazy than he is, because you have for life. You want to live. Okay? That's what you want to do. You know, I say this one thing to you, is that I said when I worked DEA, I made it very clear, especially in South America, there is no war on drugs. Never was war on drugs, because America, United States, is the most powerful country. I don't know about today, but that time it was the most powerful country. We had everything we need. We can destroy. And people ask me all the time, well, Mr. Hardin, how can you stop that terrorist? How can you stop that drug trafficker? Okay? The fentanyl. When that drug trafficker gets caught, okay, that drug trafficker will go through our system if it's not corrupted, which a lot of it is now. They're interpreting the law the way that you hang that trafficker. Let's say that I never met you. You got a family. You got a father. You have a mother. You have someone that you love very, very much. Okay. And someone took your daughter or took your mom or took your best friend. They not only raped her, okay, they killed her. Your prayer, your hope that the police officers, they do their job, but with the judicial system and politics, no. We're going back to the days of our ancestors, okay, 150 years ago. Out here, when I said there was no law enforcement, there were marshals. The towns had their own cops, but it was the people, the church-going people. You just shot someone and you killed that person because what? And you raped this child? Okay. Law was quick. It was quick. And, but we depend on the judicial system because innocent people sometimes get caught up in that. Look, I'll ask you something. If you're with someone, okay, and he kills another person and you're with that person and you sit back and not say anything or stop it or whatever, I think you're guilty too. You're guilty of that crime. But now they said, no, you're not guilty of that crime because your defense is, well, you know what? I was growing up. My daddy beat me. He beat me with his belt. My mama, she slapped me around. I'm disturbed. And listen, enough is enough. Anyway,
I have just one last question for you, Larry, because I think the knowledge that's been dropped in this podcast episode is absolutely incredible. And just of one thing left to round out that I think maybe someone listening at home might be questioning the same thing. With everything that you've mentioned, all the nightmare-worthy sins that you saw and the things that you've been involved in, what was the reason for you to work as a DEA agent?
That's a good question. And here's the truth. I want to become a priest. Hear me out now. A priest, Catholic priest, because I grew up as a Catholic, altar boy and so on. And it's I'm not trying to be funny with you and your audience, but I like women. Okay. And I just told my mom, I said, Mom, if you're going to be a priest or a chaplain, your family will become your church. All these children, everybody is your family. You should not be married. That's me. But I want to get married, and God answered my prayer. Did I apply for DEA? Yes. But I want to become a chaplain, a minister, because I got to know God. I got to know God. Actually, it was the devil that created me to know God. It backfired on him big time. He's a horrible son of a gun. It's for real. I'm trust me, I'm crazy. I'm mentally, and I experienced it. And it's for real. I've seen it in people's eyes. I've seen people that I met that have killed many people, and they're still alive because they're professionals. When I say professional, they have a Bible in their hand, knock on your door, and they'll be inside your house, and they'll kill you. Contractors, that is. I decided to go in law enforcement because I had a chance to go with the United States Marines. I was in the Navy. I was a religious program specialist assigned to the chaplains to protect them. And I started hanging out with the Marines, and it was a special group of people that taught me so much about love for each other and commitment. And it's just like our Navy SEALs or anybody, but the Marines, when you have people that took care of me, when I was a Navy guy, and they call me Squealy Dilly, but I made it through because I made it with the love of those Marines. You show no weakness. If you have weakness, you're not going to survive. But DEA, I just put in for the job, and I didn't know what DEA was. I just put in for it because FBI turned me down. FBI just want a nice suit, go out and, whatever. But the DEA is just incredible. They call me, but he explained to me, and I even told the DEA agent when they're doing my background, I said, my grandpa went to prison for 5 years. He went to prison back in the 30s. He's making moonshine, making whiskey because he had to survive with my mom and his family. And my other two uncles, one, he didn't rob. He drove the car. Okay. And he went to prison. And so I told him that. But see, that's what DEA was looking for. They were looking for people that don't sit behind the desk, that don't have no social skills, that never been through the trials of life. Because once you get in, back then you were on your own and you had to survive because, and you had to be quick thinking, and you rely on a very tight knit group of people that you feel comfortable. When you go after that bad guy, he's a bad guy. You know what? That never troubled me. I didn't care. I'd be honest. I never care if his name was, let's give a name. The old mythology or whatever. Let's say he was Jesse James living today. And there was a lot of them out there. I never really feared them because I felt very comfortable with the group of people I was working with. Even though we had corruption, but I knew who I can trust. And I feel comfortable with the training. And also, I do believe, I spent 3 days with a friend of mine that was killed. He took a round right in the chest. It clipped his aorta. He died right there. And so I stayed with him for 3 days down South America. I wrote about him. And you know what? Not once could I cry. It's not been weird. I just couldn't cry because I knew from my experience, because narcotics is filthy, man. It's dirty. When it's alcohol, it changed the behavior of another person to make them do things that it's evil. The mind itself, it's a battlefield, right? But it's just that I seen it. And I spent with him for 3 days to keep the social media off of his body, taking pictures, because he's a DEA agent killed in South America, right? It's a big news down there. And of course, they went after him. Not them, but back home. They said he was under the influence of alcohol, maybe drugs. So when he got back to the States, they took his body apart again. I mean, it was already, organs were taken out and placed in a cooler. And so they were trying to prove that he was he was under influence that night. He got killed, and he wasn't. They proved wrong. And so that's why when you ask me, I think my belief, I think God, I think whatever happened, God knows what's going to happen. I'm in DEA for a reason. I never thought I'd be talking. Would you ever dream that I'd be talking to you? You're halfway across what they say the big pond. Same here, never. But there's things in life. You reach out for me, and I reach the other day, but now I'm reaching out we're talking. And there's a reason for everything. To live, there's a time to die, and there's time to live. But when you get ready to die, make it sure that it's on your terms with your belief in God, whatever belief you have. Look, I'm not shying away from it. I'm very outspoken about my belief because I learned the hard way. That's why if you look at the books, you're going to see that's me standing there, okay? Where you see the last book, life is a journey between heaven and hell. To get to heaven, you got to go through hell. Well, that's me there, okay? And that's a real plane down in South America. And the flames and the cross, that's the road, okay? And or fighting my greatest enemy. That's me standing there with my face covered up. Now, we didn't wear that, okay? But down in South America, when we came in behind that plane, I did not have that DA vest on, okay? We came in to get the dope off the plane because we took it down. We didn't take it down. It was taken down, right? But when we got to the ground, the corruption of the cops, okay, took all the cocaine and they destroyed the stolen plane. Stolen planes. I never seen so many American stolen planes. But anyway, you asked me about DEA. You know what DEA stands for? I have to tell you. People say drug enforcement.
Drug Enforcement Administration.
Yeah. Well, a bad guy, if they're smart enough, they want to make a deal. Okay? They want to rat on their mama. But I say, you know what DEA stands for? And of course, you got the handcuffs on them. And they look at you and they say, yep. I say, no, you don't. It stands for don't expect anything, because they don't get anything from me. They really don't. Yeah. But anyway, it was an honor to talk to you. You sound like a young man. Well, you sound like a young man. I hope you have a long life. And whatever you do, don't let anybody hurt you. You don't. If someone's gonna hurt you, like I said, don't let him hurt you, okay? Because if he hurts you, he's going to hurt somebody else. If he gets into your house, whatever you have in your house, you can have a dog, you can have a pony, you can have a horse, whatever. You can have a family. once he's inside your house, you're in serious trouble. And I tell people in America, we all do in law enforcement here. I'm telling you, I'm in California. California is upside down right now. And we have a military base called Camp Pendleton, Texas and so on. They just don't understand. You cannot defend your home. You know, your home is your home. It's your castle. You feel safe from the outside world. But now you have to protect your inside home. You know? So anyway, gosh, I just want you to take care of yourself, okay? And God be with you, my friend. And if I tell you what, if you can do something, if you can help me over there, all you have to do is reach out for me, okay? And tell me that there's some people that wants to meet with me. They're let's say they're good people that want to get the story out there. I will fly over there. And but I don't want to see them. I want to see you first, okay? And I want to sit down and have some tea with you, or maybe a cold beer, and then we can meet somebody else. If you come across with anybody that wants to do that, let me know, okay? And I will go over there because I want to get the truth out. That's all I want to do.
It's a great mission, Larry, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. I'm sure people that enjoyed past episodes, whether we've had people that have been involved in law enforcement, are really going to enjoy this one, because this has been exactly what I hoped. It's been unhinged in the truth, and I 100% think that I'm going to have you on eventually again to talk more about, obviously you as a person and the other side of coming out of the DEA. But I think for now, today's episode, that's capped off perfectly. I can only thank you for your time.
Well, I'll be in Spain in September, and it's not too far. The hop is right there, Ryan or another airline. But if you get something going up there, in other words, I'd love to come up there and sit down with you and we'll talk. And if there's anybody else, I can use it now as a write-off of my taxes here in America. So That's awesome that I can do that. So, but I will love to come back up there. And now after knowing you, there is a lady from Spain, that lived in Britain. A lot of Spanish people live there. She took the book, and she wanted to take the book, and she's going to take it back to a friend of her that's a producer. But that was last summer. She read the book. Everybody that reads the book, I only got one bad feedback, and that was from a bad guy. Okay, it really was.
No surprise.
No surprise. But everybody else, so I know it's there. It's going to be someone like you, or someone that or someone down the road, and the truth is going to get out there. And then we'll drink more than one beer. Okay.
Thank you very much, Larry. Enjoy the rest of your day.
God be with you always, my friend. Take care.
Goodbye.
Bye. No, don't say bye. Don't say bye. I'll see you later.